I'm Veronica Jude. Tonight on EWTN News Nightly, an island nation faces off against a Category 5 hurricane. A look at the damage and what happens next. President Trump heralds a new golden age for U.S. and Japan relations. Details of the deal the two nations signed today. Food benefits could soon run dry due to the shutdown, and the U.S. Department of Agriculture's website says one group is to blame. We're on Capitol Hill. Plus, Daring for Peace will take you to a special event attended by the Pope today at the Colosseum in Rome. These stories and more tonight.
From EWTN, the Global Catholic Network, this is EWTN News Nightly.
Thank you for being with us on the Feast of Saints Simon and Jude. We begin tonight with one of the strongest Atlantic hurricanes in history, and right now it is bearing down on Jamaica. This is Category 5 Hurricane Melissa. It is the strongest direct hit to the island in 174 years. The storm is being blamed for 7 deaths, at least 3 people in Jamaica, 3 people in Haiti, and a 4th person in the Dominican Republic. The Jamaican Prime Minister offered a very dire assessment of the storm.
For the rest of the island, we are experiencing hurricane-like conditions, rain, squalls, flooding. There are reports of some landslides, but the impact is really in the south of the island, and I am praying for those residents. And we have been preparing, and we have been praying for the best. For Jamaica, a Category 5 hurricane, particularly where the impact is direct and in the area of the impact, there will be catastrophic damage.
Joining us is Weather Nation meteorologist Alana Cameron. Thank you so much for coming on today. What's the latest with this massive storm?
This storm, still a major hurricane, as it's been working its way over the island of Jamaica. It's going to head back into the Caribbean waters. And then next, we have to keep our eyes out on portions of eastern Cuba. Now, earlier this morning at about 11 o'clock, we had this landfall as a Category 5 storm. The statistics from this were maximum winds of 185 miles per hour, and the pressure was as low as 892 millibars. This, unfortunately, makes it one of the most powerful hurricanes that we've had on record for the Atlantic. Some of those stats that I mentioned, the winds and the pressure, that determines how strong a hurricane is. And as we look back in years past across the Atlantic basin, Hurricane Melissa, with winds of 185 miles per hour, that makes it the second highest wind speeds we've had on record. With pressure as low as 892 millibars, that makes it the 3rd strongest hurricane that we have had across the Atlantic basin. So those are some of the weather stats that we've had from this system. Some of the impacts that we're still expecting from this as it crosses from portions of Jamaica back out into those open waters and towards portions of eastern Cuba and the Bahamas. Those are the next areas and island nations that need to be on alert. We have widespread hurricane warnings that are in place. Everyone highlighted and read out here is under a hurricane warning because the center of Hurricane Melissa is just going to keep impacting all of these communities out here. And then it heads back into the open waters, and then it could potentially influence Bermuda as we get later into the week ahead. So the forecast is going to still bring us in hurricane force, storm force winds, as well as tropical storm force winds and the outskirts of Hurricane Melissa. We still have a lot of heavy rainfall to go. The forecast is still showing portions of Cuba and Jamaica to see between 2 feet of rainfall. Some isolated communities could see even more rainfall than that. And then it clears areas like the Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos. So still heavy torrential and potentially catastrophic rainfall is in the forecast, as well as life-threatening winds that we're expecting from Hurricane Melissa. It's such a powerful and potentially devastating storm. We'll send things back to you.
Alana Cameron, thank you so much.
Thank you.
A major challenge to the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announces powerful strikes in Gaza. It comes after Israel says Hamas opened fire at Israeli forces in southern Gaza. They also say Hamas has refused to return the bodies of hostages. Medical officials at the Ali Arab say several people were killed and injured in an Israeli airstrike on Gaza City. The strike targeted a home in the Sabra neighborhood in the city's southern part inside the Yellow Line, from which Israeli forces had previously withdrawn, according to reporters on the ground. An Israeli airstrike also hit the Shati refugee camp west of Gaza City. Joining us now is Daniel Flesch from the Allison Center for National Security. Daniel, thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure to be here, Veronica.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu accuses Hamas of breaking the ceasefire after returning remains that did not belong to any of the 13 hostages still unaccounted for. Where do things stand now for peace in the region?
Well, before we talk about peace in the region, let's first talk about some sort of stability and security in Gaza. We're having right now is kind of a tale of two Gazas that are developing. One on the Israeli side of the demarcation line called the Yellow Line, where the IDF still operates inside Gaza. You actually have calls to begin reconstruction and rebuilding parts there. Now, it's a minority a percentage of the Palestinian population that lives in that area of Gaza, but nonetheless, with the IDF in control, there is effective security and stability. It is on the other half of Gaza, the other side of the Yellow Line, where you're seeing this conflict persist and continue. You mentioned earlier, rightly, that Hamas has violated the terms of the ceasefire from day one in not releasing all the hostages. They still retain 13 deceased hostages they've not yet returned to Israel. And also, they've been attacking IDF soldiers, and Israel's been responding. So right now, it is a take it day by day situation. And the president and the vice president actually just said earlier today that the ceasefire is holding, which is true. And each day brings a new challenge for Israel and for America in this region.
Now, to your point, looking at Hamas's actions, what do these violations signal about the current military or political objectives of Hamas?
Well, their objective has always been to survive. At the base level, that's what they want to do, to demonstrate that they can commit the October 7th invasion and massacre of Jews, Israelis, Americans as well, and survive that. You know, the president's plan called for them to disarm and no longer be a part of Gaza's governing structure going forward, and they rejected that right away. And there's no force that's going to make them disarm, short of likely the Israel Defense Forces, although right now, Israel obviously does not want to continue with that mission. And so moving forward, you're going to have the president in the region, the vice president, and the secretary of state all in Israel within a matter of a few days of each other last week to try to see what sort of international force can be brought together from other Arab and Muslim partners to actually institute security and stability in the Hamas-controlled part of the Gaza Strip. That still remains to be seen how that's going to come together, though.
This isn't the first flare-up of violence since the ceasefire was agreed on. One happened, of course, last week. What has kept all-out war from breaking out again?
Well, it's mainly that Israel, beginning on October 8th, really has executed a remarkable campaign to defeat most of its enemies on its borders and further afield. Culminating in the 12-day war with the United States against Iran this summer. Israel has defeated Hamas right now. They're still working on disarming them. They defeated Hezbollah in Lebanon. The Assad regime in Syria has fallen. You had, again, the strikes against Iran, responding to previous strikes Iran had inflicted on Israel itself. And the Houthis in Yemen have been fairly quiet right now. So there has been a regional war for the better part of 2 years, but that's over now thanks to the IDF's military campaign against its enemies. Right now, Israel's interest is ensuring that Gaza does not pose a threat to it. It's been 2 years of war, the longest war in Israel's history. Most of the IDF is comprised of reservists, those in their mid-20s to mid-40s who have jobs and families and need to get back to work and see their loved ones at home. So Israel's interest, particularly with the United States behind it and President Trump's personal engagement in this issue, is giving the president the space to see if his vision can come to fruition.
Daniel Flesch, thank you so much.
Thank you.
The Defense Secretary has announced that U.S. forces have carried out strikes on 4 alleged drug boats in the Eastern Pacific. This video was shared on X by Pete Hegseth. He said the strikes were carried out yesterday. Mexico's Navy says it is still searching for one lone survivor of the strikes. It was the deadliest single day since the Trump administration began its campaign against drug trafficking in the waters off South America. A number of federal agencies are posting messages on their websites blaming Democrats for the current government shutdown, which is now into day 28. It represents a sharp break from how departments have handled shutdowns in the past, and lawmakers are speaking out. Capitol Hill correspondent Eric Rosales joins us with more. Eric.
Well, good evening, Veronica. The messages started popping up when the shutdown began back on October 1st, and now most agencies and departments have posted some sort of message on their homepage. They include statements like, the radical left is responsible for the shutdown, to Democrats continue to hold out for the health care of illegal aliens. Democrats say Republicans are breaking the law by posting these partisan statements.
It violates the Hatch Act and the Anti-Lobbying Act, and if we had a Justice Department that was enforcing the law, they would stop it, and if we had a president who respected the law, he wouldn't tolerate it.
The federal government agencies should be serving the public regardless of whether it's a Republican or Democrat. It should not be a website that is used for partisan political purposes.
But Republicans disagree and say the websites are just posting the facts.
It's a true statement.
Some are saying that it's a violation of the Hatch Act, and
No, it's they're guilty of telling the truth.
It is telling the truth, and you have to admit that how frustrated it must be for these agencies who want to serve the American people to see the Democrats obstructing.
Just this weekend, the U.S. Department of Agriculture posted a new message blaming Democrats for the upcoming suspension of the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, also known as SNAP. The message says in part, quote, bottom line, the well has run dry. At this time, there will be no benefits issued November 1st. We are approaching an inflection point for Senate Democrats. They can continue to hold out for health care for illegal aliens and gender mutilation procedures, or reopen the government so mothers, babies, and the most vulnerable among us can receive critical nutrition assistance. Ag Secretary Brooke Rollins says her agency's hands are tied.
The SNAP program in November cost $9.2 billion. We don't have the legal authority as of today to distribute anything less than that through the formulas, et cetera. We're obviously looking at all of this as we move forward, but as of today, that $9.2 billion, we don't even have close to that in contingency funding. We've got to get this government open.
Democrats argue they were left out of negotiations and that they would vote to fund the government if Republicans agreed to extending Affordable Care Act subsidies. Republicans say the ball is in the Democrats' court, and it's up to them to pass a clean, continuing resolution.
This is the Schumer shutdown. They've had at least 12 opportunities to fund the government right now. I think we need about 5 or 6 more Democrats to come across the aisle. Remind everybody it takes 60 votes in the Senate to fund the government.
And by the way, I did speak to a number of ethics experts. They say that the messages don't technically violate the Hatch Act, which prohibits partisan political activities of federal employees or military personnel while on duty, and prevents the use of official authority to interfere with elections. But it certainly pushes the boundaries. I've also learned that a coalition of more than 24 Democratic attorneys general and governors of blue states are now suing the USDA for suspending SNAP benefits. Veronica?
Eric, the federal government has been shut down for almost 4 weeks. Are we any closer to ending this stalemate?
Well, I wish I had better news. I kind of sound like a broken record, but unfortunately we are not. This afternoon, Senate Majority Leader John Thune brought the clean CR to the floor for a vote once again, and for the 13th time, most Democrats voted against it. Afterwards, Republicans held a luncheon with Vice President J.D. Vance in a show of unity, and then the Senate Majority Leader John Thune spoke and reinforced Democrats must reopen the government.
ATC employees are going to miss their paycheck today. If by the end of the week this isn't over, there are going to be 40 million Americans who are not going to have food assistance.
If J.D. Vance were doing his job, he would be meeting with Democrats, not just Republicans, and forging a compromise. There's a clear path forward, and compromise is not a 4-letter word.
Again, Democrats want some sort of guarantee that Medicaid cuts and Obamacare subsidies will be included in the deal, but Republicans say now is not the time to do this type of negotiation. Now is the time to open the government and get people back to work. And by the way, the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, they also chimed in on this government shutdown. They say that they support opening the government and extending SNAP programs for the needy. But as of right now, the shutdown continues. Veronica?
Thanks, Eric. Today, air traffic controllers missed their first full paychecks since the start of the government shutdown. Even though they aren't getting paid, controllers are considered essential and expected to show up to work. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy stressed this point during a press conference earlier today.
I've been clear to our air traffic controllers. They need to show up for work. They do really important work for our country, and they need to show up. But I'm not going to lie to anybody to not say that they're not feeling the stress. The fact that they are working, and oftentimes they are head of households. They're the only income earners in their homes, and they have families. And the fact that they're having a hard time paying their bills.
Duffy also said the shutdown is hurting government air traffic training and recruiting. He says 44% of the flight delays on Sunday and about 24% on Monday were due to air traffic controller staffing, compared with around 5% of the delays so far this year. We have a lot more still to come on EWTN News Nightly. A new golden age. President Trump touts a new era in U.S.-Japan relations and a major deal to back it up. And a retail giant is laying off employees by the thousands. So what's driving the decision? We'll discuss. President Donald Trump says he's more confident than ever that the friendship between the United States and Japan is strong and thriving, adding it'll soon be greater than ever before. All this in the lead up to President Trump's highly anticipated meeting with China's president. White House correspondent Owen Jensen reports. Owen.
Veronica, good evening to you. Well, this was one of the busiest days of the president's trip to Asia. And tonight, the Trump administration is announcing that Japan will invest $490 billion into the United States, including in artificial intelligence infrastructure.
President Donald Trump and Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi signed an agreement securing the supply of critical minerals and rare earths following their bilateral meeting in Tokyo. Later, President Trump, speaking at a reception with Japanese and U.S. business leaders at the U.S. Embassy, describes his day.
And we had a phenomenal day here in Japan with a momentous trade deal. We made a big, beautiful trade deal for both countries. In fact, to the best of my knowledge, I think Japan also had their best stock market day ever.
The president also discussed his next stop in Asia.
But we'll be going to South Korea, and then on the following day, a meeting with President Xi, as you probably heard. I'd be surprised if anybody didn't hear. That's a big meeting, and I think it's going to work out very well, actually. I think it's going to be great for everybody. This woman is a winner, so, we've become very close friends all of a sudden.
Also today, on the USS George Washington, President Trump, standing alongside Japan's first female prime minister, tells U.S. troops both nations have a cherished alliance.
Born out of the ashes of a terrible war, our bond has grown over 8 decades into the beautiful friendship that we have. It's a foundation of peace and security in the Pacific. You see it?
The leaders demonstrating an early personal strong bond and vowing to strengthen that alliance between both nations.
So on behalf of all American sailors stationed in this beautiful country, let's hear it for our allies and the Japanese self-defense forces and all of the Japanese people that we love and respect.
President Trump also says car maker Toyota is investing $10 billion in auto plants here in the U.S. At the White House, Owen Jensen, EWTN News Nightly.
Online retail giant Amazon is reported to start laying off employees by the thousands. The Wall Street Journal announces 14,000 employees were laid off today, but it doesn't stop there. In total, the company is expected to lay off 30,000 people. That's roughly 10% of its workforce. The company says it's trying to cut costs and reduce bureaucracy. Here to discuss this is Jason Boyce, the CEO and founder of Avenue 7 Media, as well as the author of The Amazon Jungle. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hi, Veronica. Thanks for having me.
Now, Amazon is expected to do thousands of layoffs. What's driving that decision?
Well, I think you have to go back to the COVID times to see how much of a massive hiring spree they ran during those times, 2020 through 2022. And I think there's a little bit of unwinding of that as part one of these layoffs. Part two is, look, Veronica, the entire world is being rebuilt on large language models, on automation. And I think Amazon, who is a terrific tech company, one of the big 4 or 5, have spent a lot of time and energy investing in technology, and they're looking for it to pay off.
Now, talking about AI, artificial intelligence, what does this signal about Amazon's broader strategic priorities?
Well, the broad, look, all companies, all investors, all owners of companies are being driven because of this AI technology and the ability to automate so many standard processes. A lot of investors want higher gross margins, they want higher net margins, and this is largely part of Amazon's path towards higher margins. They've been in high growth mode for more than 30 years. They're looking to harvest some of those investments that they have made, and automation is one of the ways that they're going to do that.
Now, are we looking at a blueprint? How might this ripple across the tech sector and corporate America?
Well, I think we're seeing it already. Microsoft announced 10,000 layoffs about a month ago. I don't think that I don't think this headline is going to go away. Every tech company in America is going to continue to see where they can gain efficiencies and drive those margins higher. And what they can accomplish with large language models, even at my small agency, Avenue 7 Media, we're deploying agentic AI in order to save some of those more mundane tasks that we used to have to pay human beings for. We can do it more effectively with a lower time, cost, and quality. It's what investors demand, and it's what this leadership is driving for, so that ultimately they can provide a better product for their customers.
The world is certainly changing before our eyes. Jason Boyd, thank you so much.
Thank you, Veronica.
Up next on EWTN News Nightly, a push for peace will take you to the heart of Rome and show you what Pope Leo said to a multi-faith audience outside the Colosseum. While speaking at a multi-faith event for religious leaders and representatives, Pope Leo said peace is holy, not war. At the annual meeting for peace in Rome, the pontiff called for reconciliation and dialogue among all peoples. EWTN Vatican News correspondent Valentina DiDonato has more.
Nearly 300 religious, cultural, and political representatives have gathered here in Rome for a 3-day program of events entitled Daring Peace. And the event just concluded with a prayer and remarks by Pope Leo XIV held right here at the Colosseum, one of the world's most recognized monuments.
Con la forza della preghiera.
In the power of prayer, with hands raised to heaven and open to others, we must ensure that this period of history, marked by war and the arrogance of power, soon comes to an end, giving rise to a new era. We cannot allow this period to continue. It shapes the mind of people who grow accustomed to war as a normal part of human history. Enough. This is the cry of the poor and the cry of the earth. Enough.
Basta. Signore,
Lord, hear our cry.
Following the Holy Father's words, a beautiful ritual closing the ceremony with the lighting of candles and a proclamation appealing for peace. The series of meetings fittingly concluded here at the Colosseum right behind me. And although today it is considered one of the 7 wonders of the world, it had a brutal history, a site where many Christians were martyred and where bloody battles among gladiators and animals were held. Speakers like Giancarlo Pensa, the community of Sant'Egidio, Horn of Africa section supervisor, reminded us about the need for peace, especially now, and the necessary bridge between religion and the secular world.
In the past, religion was instrumentalized by politics for reasons of power. And many people in the history used the religion as a reason to burning the world with war and fires. The meaning of this event, the true meaning of this event since Assisi 1986, John Paul II, who started this movement, is that the key word of religion is peace.
The series of meetings focused on uniting religious, political, and cultural leaders to continue the dialogue opened by the agreement between Hamas and Israel, and according to the Sant'Egidio community that organized the event with the Vatican. And Pope Leo XIV gave a moving speech on not only the urgent need for all wars to stop, but that all religion must be brothers to obtain peace, asking God to listen to the global collective cry.
This is the appeal that we religious leaders make with all our hearts to those who govern. And if the world were deaf to this appeal, we are certain that God will hear our prayer and the cry of so many who suffer, because God desires a world without war. He will deliver us from this evil.
da questo male.
In Rome, Valentina Di Donato for EWTN News Nightly.
Today, the church celebrates two apostles, Saints Simon and Jude. In the Gospels of Matthew and Mark, Simon was called the Zealot, and Jude also went by Thaddeus. According to tradition, the two accompanied each other in Persia, modern-day Iran, where they spread the gospel. Eventually, they were arrested and told to renounce Christ and instead worship the goddess Diana. They refused, and both were martyred. Today, their relics are kept under the altar of St. Joseph at St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. St. Jude is one of the most beloved saints and is known especially as the patron saint of hopeless causes. Saints Simon and Jude, pray for us. We thank you for watching tonight. Remember, you can follow us on social media, Facebook, X, and Instagram at EWTN News Nightly. I'm Veronica Dudo. Good night and God bless.